Safety culture is about the prioritization of risk inside of an organization. And it's a phenomenon that dates back to the 1980s. It emerged from a series of major accidents. So Chernobyl, which was a nuclear power plant that went into meltdown, the NASA Challenger space disaster, and also the Piper Alpha accident, which was an oil and gas installation that exploded off the coast of Scotland in the late 1980s.
But first, that explosion at a nuclear plant in the Soviet Union.
It does now seem likely that sometime in the last couple of days there's been perhaps the worst accident in the short history of the world's nuclear power industry. Well, it was just 4 hours ago when Soviet viewers were watching their evening news bulletin and the announcer revealed that the accident had taken place.
It's now clear the explosion that ripped a North Sea platform apart was the world's worst oil field disaster. 164 men are almost certainly dead. A short while ago, the American operators, Occidental Oil, said a leak in the gas compression equipment led to a series of massive explosions.
There has been a serious accident involving the Space Shuttle Challenger on this 25th Space Shuttle mission. Less than 2 minutes after launch, a massive explosion off the coast of Florida, and it appears that there are no survivors.
And what all of these accidents revealed was that an institutional focus on productivity, on getting the job done, producing oil, ensuring the shuttle launches occurred, it led to employees and management taking their eye off of safety. And they focused, kind of getting the job done over the management of risk. And so safety culture really emerges from those series of accidents. And so safety culture is also still a phenomenon that's really relevant today. So if you think about something like the Deepwater Horizon accident, which was another oil and gas platform that exploded off the coast of the US in 2010, or the recent Boeing MAX accidents, these more recent accidents were also found to emerge from an institutional focus on productivity, getting the job done, over effective risk management.
The tension in every drilling operation is between doing things safely and doing them fast. Time is money.
The explosion was spectacular and catastrophic. The Deepwater Horizon was under contract with BP, drilling a new well in the Gulf of Mexico.
Our breaking news: an Ethiopian Airlines flight has crashed shortly after takeoff from Addis Ababa.
A scathing Congressional House report blames a horrific culmination of a series of faulty technical assumptions by Boeing's engineers, a lack of transparency on the part of Boeing's management, and grossly insufficient oversight by the FAA.
And so what researchers and practitioners on safety culture are really interested in is, how does an organization get the balance right? To what extent do they focus on productivity, ensuring performance, and to what extent do they focus on risk management? So the balance between safety and productivity can be quite difficult to get right. So obviously if you focus everything on safety, you'd get nothing done. Planes wouldn't fly, oil and gas installations wouldn't pump oil. But if you focus everything on productivity, you endanger your organization through taking a lot of risk. And one of the real challenges of safety culture and safety management more generally is that safety is something that never happens. It's an accident that doesn't occur. It's people that don't get harmed. And something that doesn't blow up. And so what that means is, through time, as your organization drifts and doesn't experience safety problems, questions emerge on, well, are we investing too much on safety? And should we be putting more into productivity? And so there's a real tension for many organizations on how they manage safety and productivity. And what does this look like on the ground? I mean, this looks like the type of protocols and rules that you ask people to follow. It can look like the type of industry regulation that you have for managing risk. It can go into organizational decision making. Where is money spent? What kind of risks are acceptable to the board? To what extent is information about risk being collected? And so here, sort of safety culture and the balance between productivity and safety, it's quite dynamic. So a good example of this is the Challenger disaster. And it's an interesting case study because there were technical problems with the Challenger shuttle that were recognized in the late 1970s. And these problems, which were around the fact that the Challenger the space shuttles couldn't be launched safely at very low temperatures. These were known for a number of years, but they were just sort of accepted within the organization, and something that was dangerous initially became normalized and was no longer seen as dangerous anymore. This is sometimes called organizational drift. It's where a threat to an organization, because it hasn't manifested, is just sort of accepted and not seen as threatening anymore. And this is really what happened with the Challenger disaster, whereby the threat, which was known but ignored through time, it came back to haunt NASA in the late 1980s when the shuttle launched.
Kind of imagine that something like a child that runs in the road, and the parent is very upset and says it's very dangerous, and the child comes back and says, but nothing happened. Again and again I saw, in looking through this statements, this new flight is within our database, which just means nothing happened before, it's about the same as we did before, so it can't be unsafe because it was okay last time.
So these high-risk domains where safety culture is a real priority and it's something that's constantly managed has a lot to teach other organizations, I think, and in particular those trying to manage through the pandemic. So organizations which have a strong safety culture tend to have three sort of clear, distinct properties. The first is that they're very focused on behavior. They're very clear on the types of behavior they want people to engage in. So if you think about something like an airline and an aircraft, pilots are trained to engage in particular communication behaviors, to constantly check safety. There's a whole load of routines and processes for managing safety. Now, you wouldn't want all of these routines perhaps for an organization on a day-to-day basis, but what they do is they signal to people the kinds of behaviors they should be engaging in and the importance of safety. The second thing that organizations have done is redesign themselves. So perhaps sticking with the airline example, you know, the whole cockpit has changed massively over 30 or 40 years, where automation has been used to remove lots of aspects of human error. And if you think about something like how we're adapting to the pandemic, organizations have redesigned themselves. We work from home, we've redesigned space as well. So this sort of aspect of redesign is really important. And the last thing that organizations that are very good at managing safety do is they're very good at collecting information. They have very effective instant reporting systems. They have an open culture where people can report problems, they can report making mistakes, and they collect and analyze information. And this is really important, I think, with managing COVID too. If you think about something like track and trace or the sort of testing that we have, this is a load of incident data being collected. It's a lot of safety data. And the analysis of this and collection of this is critical to managing risk. The safety culture research has often focused on this sort of dichotomy between safety and productivity. And I think what we've learned is that it's a false dichotomy. It's not really the case that you can focus on productivity or safety and that one eats into the other. Rather, that for many organizations, they can't operate without safety. This is to say, to be productive, they need to be safe. If you think about, again, something like an airline or the nuclear power industry, or even a hospital, they can't deliver what they deliver. They can't produce if they're not safe. And I think this is the same, and this will be the same for many organizations through the pandemic, and even indeed economies and countries. You can't effectively produce what you want to produce if your country isn't safe or your organization isn't safe.
Health is part of your income. Okay, it's not that you can separate health from income. If you have worse health, your productivity is less.
So this dichotomy is a bit false, and we've learned that the management of safety is critical for productivity.